20 years ago, 100% of my revenue was from direct mail. Sending a piece of mail to somebody and them filling it out and mailing it back. That is maybe 4% of my business now. It's all online now. So we had to adapt. I mean, just think about that. 100% of my business 20 years ago was one channel, and now it's only 4%. I've had to change the way I do everything.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Alexander McCobin, a co-founder and general partner at Liberty Ventures, and I'm thrilled to have you join us now for the Liberty Ventures podcast. Before I introduce our guest, as a reminder, Liberty Ventures is building an ecosystem of purpose-driven investors and entrepreneurs aligned around advancing a free and prosperous future. And we're talking with incredible business leaders who have knowledge in the investing and entrepreneurship space to help build that ecosystem up. And Roger Michalski is one of those incredible individuals I'm excited to speak with, because he's the vice president and group publisher of Eagle Financial Publications, which he started in 2003. Now, his experience in publishing spans more than 30 years and includes time working at the prestigious Smithsonian Institution and its catalog division. He's been an invited speaker and presenter at conferences like The Money Show, Freedom Fest, where we're at right now, and Specialized Information Publishers Association, and now has over 30 newsletters in his group that he's built up from scratch. Roger, thanks so much for taking the time to join us, and I'm really excited for us to have this conversation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I love Freedom Fest, and I love the idea of what you're doing. I think it's fantastic. And so, Roy, let's talk. What do you want to talk about?
Well, let's start by actually diving into your history, because I find that always reveals information about what you're doing today and brings out some insights. So if you're willing to share in 2 to 3 minutes just your story, what's led to who you are and what you're doing today, I'd love to start there.
Okay, well, I didn't know I was going to get into publishing after college, but I just happened to kind of fall into publishing. That's who hired me, and here we go. That was 1990, and wow, I was 4 years old, but I fell into publishing, and I worked in publishing my whole life except for the Smithsonian catalog. That got me into consumer. I was doing business to business before, and that got me on the consumer side. And then I came to Eagle in 2001, and it's a politically conservative company, and I was running human events and the Evans Novak political report. And then we had an opportunity to get Mark Skousen's Forecasts and Strategies financial newsletter. And so in my spare time that I had, I started doing that, and it just took off. In the first 18 months, we tripled the subscription base. I didn't have any financial newsletter background. I was the editor. I was the marketer. I was kind of doing everything with Mark. And here we are 20 years later, and I've gone from one publication on the side to we have over 30 publications and 7 lines of products, a bunch of websites, and it's been an amazing ride.
That's absolutely incredible. And I first want to dig into just the newsletter business, because a lot of people may not be familiar with this as a business. So what does that really entail, and how do you grow a newsletter business?
So the newsletter business, so what we do, we have I'm just going to do the financial newsletters that we do now. So we reach out to individuals who want to trade stocks or invest in the stock market. They don't really know what to do, but they want to do it themselves. They don't want to give it to a broker. I've heard so many stories. I heard one yesterday here at Freedom Fest. This person lost all their money. Their broker took all their money. They just drove it into the ground. And I hear that way too often. So a lot of people want to do it themselves, be independent, their own freedom, right? Here we are at Freedom Fest. And so we help do that. So we don't take your money and invest it for you. We issue a newsletter. Most of it's online now. It used to be print, but online. And we'll send you emails and text messages and say, buy this now. And then we tell you exactly when to sell. And you go and do it yourself. You can kind of decide how much money you're going to put into it, whatever. But we just help you get good quality information and help grow your portfolio. And we also have products on how to protect your portfolios, how to keep your money away from the government. That's always a big one, retirement planning. So we have a lot of different things, but we give you the information and then you go and act on it.
So you're giving advice to people that they can then choose what they're going to follow and which ones they're going to disregard.
Exactly. And actually a mistake they make, that's kind of interesting you say that. I'll have people walk by and go, oh, you guys lost me money. And I'm like, well, what did you have? oh, I had 5-Star Trader by Mark Skousen. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is up like 65% this year. Like, how could you be losing money? He goes, well, I only chose one or two of them. And he just happened to choose the losers because we're not going to be right every time. That's impossible, right? But if you stick with the program and buy everything, you're gonna do well with us. Our track record is really good, but yeah.
So whether you're looking at a newsletter or working with a broker or doing your own investing, having a portfolio is really important because not every stock goes up, even ones that you think are going to do well. You need to make a lot of different investments so that the winners offset the losers.
Absolutely, and you got to have a disciplined sell strategy. You don't want, when something goes down 50%, it's got to double just to go back to break even. And people don't think of it that way. But if you can limit your losses and set stop orders, and so never make a loss turn into a big loss, and then you move up stop orders as you get big gains, you never want to, how many people have had stocks that, oh my gosh, I'm up 70%, and then they hold on to it, and now I'm down 50%. But if they had put stop orders in there, so we help you manage that and tell you exactly when to buy and exactly when to sell. Because the hardest thing, it's easy to buy. A lot of people are stock collectors, right? It's easy to buy, but they never know when to sell, and that's the hardest thing to do. And that's what we help, I think, more than anything, is exactly when to sell.
The timing is absolutely critical.
The timing
with
is
investing.
very critical. Yep.
Now, you mentioned that Eagle was a conservative organization when you joined, and beforehand we were talking about how you got into this originally through politics but pivoted to business. I'd love for you to actually share what it was like making that transition for yourself.
So it's kind of interesting. So my publishing background, I had a lot of business-to-business background, and then I got in the consumer, and the consumer was the political stuff. And it was fun. I believed in the stuff that we were selling, of course, but it wasn't the biggest passion of my life. Like, there's a lot of people that that is their passion. They follow politics. And of course, I follow politics a lot, when I got the job, but it wasn't something that, wow, just was inside me, right? But I've always loved the stock market. As soon as I got out of school, I was investing on my own. I was buying Money Magazine. I didn't know about the newsletter business. I should have been doing that, but because Money Magazines and those Kiplingers and things like that don't tell you when to sell. They just said, this is a good buying opportunity, buy this. Never tell you when to sell. So when I had the opportunity to get Mark Skousen's Forecasts and Strategies, actually, the owner came to me and said, would you be interested in this? And I was like, oh my God, I've always wanted to do a financial newsletter. This is awesome. So it was an easy transition because I love the stock market. And so it made it easy.
Now, you're up to 30 different newsletters that you oversee now. They all have different strategies, different approaches to it. So for anyone listening, how do they pick between those different newsletters and all the many others out there to get advice on them?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And when people come up to the booth here at Freedom Fest, they're always like, well, what's your favorite? That's one of the first questions I get. Well, what's your favorite?
Yeah, which one's the best? Which one am I going to make?
So I always joke about, well, that's like picking my favorite child. Like I can't do that. But what's more important is, what type of investor are you? Are you looking for stocks? Are you looking for ETFs? Are you looking for short term? Are you looking for long term? Are you looking for dividend income? Then I can narrow it down. They're like, oh, okay, well, I'm a short term trader. Okay, well, we have these that do stocks and options, or do you want to do just options? So it really depends on the person and what they're looking for, but we have a niche to fill just about everybody.
Why do you think someone should consider doing investing on their own? Since it is so common for people to go to brokers or to be passive investors, it seems like a daunting task to take it on themselves a lot of times.
Well, it is, and that's why we're here to help you. I've said it a couple times, but we tell you exactly when to buy and exactly when to sell. Brokers, I've heard, as I told you, I've heard lots of stories of, brokers just, driving. They're not out for your best interest, most of them. They get paid to push certain positions, certain equities, certain stocks. They actually get paid to go, we need to go out and we need to sell a bunch of this today because we're making money. The brokerage is making money on it. We are completely independent. We don't take money to say, recommend this. It's totally independent advice. So I think that's very, very crucial. And then we make it easy. And, again, we tell you exactly what to do. We give you lots of education. I really believe in education, and one of the things when I started Eagle is like education is so important. An educated investor is going to be a better investor. And whether you end up buying an Eagle product or not, if you're better educated, I've done my job, and I can look at myself in the mirror and go, I helped somebody today. That's great. So, but it is daunting because, we got people who will only follow Mark Skousen, or I like Mark Skousen and I'll follow him, or Jim Woods or George Gilder, the other people we have. But we also have people who like to get a bunch of them, and they like to get the different perspectives. And quite honestly, those people are picking and choosing. They don't buy every single thing we send them. But what some people do is so the average, we were talking about this before we got on the air, the average subscriber has between 5 and 7 newsletters. They love information. What a lot of people do is, okay, I read George Gilder said this. Well, Brian Perry just said the same thing. Mark Skousen just said the same thing. Well, if they're all saying, they all have the same pick, that must be really good. I'm going to definitely get into that one.
And I also am hearing from you that your whole approach to talking with customers, to subscribers, is to educate them about their options as well. And I think that's something a lot of really successful businesses do. They educate their customers to make sure they're making informed decisions to get the most value out of it. Is that something that you do follow with Eagle Publishing?
Absolutely. I think it's so key. As a matter of fact, I think one of the things, and quite honestly, this has cost the business money short term, but when there's a certain trend in investing that is the hot tip of the day type thing, and a lot of my competitors will do full products based on these things that, quite honestly, we all know isn't going to last, but they're willing to take that money from people, and then year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, that publication is worthless. But you can make a lot of money in the meantime, because people are like, we got to be this, we got to be this. I'm looking at the long term. I want long-term subscribers. Again, I want to be able to look myself in the mirror every day and did I do an honest day's work? Am I helping everybody? And that's it's very exactly, and that's how this is our 20th anniversary this year, actually, of Eagle Financial Publications. I started with one publication. We have over 30 now, and we have a lot of long-term customers. Why? Because we give them value, we educate them, and we're in it for the long term. We want to help them. We're not just, okay, make a quick buck now, and we know this isn't a good investment. I won't name the name, but somebody at a big competitor of mine, I was actually talking to him one day, and he goes, we made a ton of money on that. The advice sucked, but we made a ton of money on it. And I was like, wow, I don't want to be that guy.
Hear, hear. Now, building this business up, you've been very entrepreneurial. I'm wondering, what other lessons have you taken away from the entrepreneurial journey over the last 20 years with us?
Well, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication. One of the most important things I learned, and this was actually from an owner of a business I used to work for, and he said, Roger, he goes, I'm not the brightest person in the world. He goes, but my secret of success? And I was like, no, what is it? He's like, I listen to the customer. And he goes, when the customer calls and says, would you do this? I do it. I make it happen. And I took that advice, and that just really registered with me. And actually, I was at a money show earlier this year, and a customer who had been there 3-4 years earlier, had come to my booth and said, would you guys do this in Cash Machine? And I went back and made that change. And 4 years later, he was like, I still want to thank you. You listened to me. And that is so helpful. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's helping everybody else. If you're thinking it, other people are thinking it. It was a great idea. So, yeah, of course, why would I not do it? And he goes, but you listen to me. Nobody listens to me. But it goes back to, Gene told me that years ago. So that's one thing, listen to the customer.
And on that, I do want to emphasize the point that if one customer is saying it, there are probably others out there thinking it and who want that, who haven't vocalized that yet.
Absolutely. You also have to be, we talked about honesty, and I think that's key, but also things change, and you have to adapt. Businesses change a lot. Okay, 20 years ago, 100% of my revenue was from direct mail. Sending a piece of mail to somebody and them filling it out and mailing it back, or picking up the 800 number and the phone and calling our 800 number and saying, I just got this in the mail. That is maybe 4% of my business now. So I had to completely learn, because it's all online now. It is so much online. And so we had to adapt. We used to print everything. Everything was printed.
Right.
Like,
the internet was still being developed.
Out of my 30 products, I have 2 that are hard copy printed and mailed to people. That's it. Completely changed the business. So you have to adapt. And I mean, just think about that. 100% of my business 20 years ago was one channel, and now it's only 4%. So I've had to change the way I do everything.
It's a massive pivot.
Massive pivot. And even just on that, like, email marketing has changed amazingly. I mean, it used to all be HTML, landing pages, whatever. So much of it's video now. And actually, we were talking right before we got on the air here, that I had never thought I'd be the face of Eagle. Like, it was the gurus. The gurus are the important people. But then we started to get to video. So actually, my staff was like, Roger, you should be on video. Like, you need to become the face of this. And I was like, really? But now I am. And Mark Skousen even told me that. He's like, this is what you need to do.
And I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't actually want to be the face of the companies. They want to run a great company. They want to create value for people. And they do kind of want to be in the background. How did you make that transition yourself?
It was interesting. Because I always said, give me the fortune, I don't need the fame, right?
Right.
That was totally fine with me. But it's still kind of weird, I get emails in my inbox from Roger Michalski. I'm like, and people, come up, I get all these emails from you, or I saw you on the videos, or I hear you on our phone. We do these phone conferences with our subscribers, and you're the guy on the phone, and it's weird in a way, but it's kind of cool. I think what's good about it is nobody knows me if I'm walking down the street, right? But when I come to a conference like this, they know me. So okay, I get the fame for a couple of conferences a year.
And it's the right environment with potential customers.
Yeah.
But did you?
But I have my
how'd
privacy.
you mentally
but
get
I have
over
my
that
privacy. I have my privacy. I can go eat. Like Steve Forbes can't go anywhere without people going. Coming to him. Steve. I don't think I'd ever want that. But how did I get over? I mean, I don't know. It was the best for the business. So I'm going to do what's best for the business. So
you stayed focused on that purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And I've gotten it's still kind of weird, but I've kind of gotten, I guess, used to my name being there and out there. But it was what is the best thing for the business. I had somebody like Mark Skousen. I had my staff telling me, this is the best thing for our business, so how could you not do what's best for your business?
And Mark's one of your customers, so again, you were listening to your customers telling you what you needed to do.
Yeah, well, he's one of our gurus, Mark Skousen.
Right.
Yeah, so...
Guru, sorry.
Yeah. One of his line of products, but he's been very successful. Look at Freedom Fest. Like I remember Freedom Fest being like 200 people in the beginning, and now it's over. Usually around 2,400 people,
which is just remarkable.
Yeah.
So, most of the investing that you give advice on, or that your gurus give advice on, is in the public markets, as we were talking about. But there are a lot of people who are looking at the private markets as well, and Liberty Ventures is focused on angel investing, early stage investing. I'm curious if any of the advice that any of your gurus give, do you think translates over to that space, or if you do anything in that space as well?
Well, we do. When George Gilder just came over to Eagle just a few months ago, and we looked at his product lineup, and I started talking about what does George know? What did the other publisher not tap into him? And he has got unbelievable connections for private equity. He just went to Israel and spoke to like 50 companies in Israel, because Israel is really the hotbed of new technology. And So we're like, okay, well, so we just launched a new product called Private Reserve, and it's all private equity opportunities. It's it's Reg D, it's private placement. So we just started that, and we haven't recommended anybody quite yet. But another one of his products we're going to do Reg A opportunities, so pre-IPO opportunities in that publication as well.
Yeah,
and it's a very exciting area, but
there are a lot of opportunities there.
And that's actually almost a bad thing that there's so many opportunities because the average investor, how are they going to know? They go to some of these, these websites now, and they pay these copywriters a lot of money to make it sound like this is the best investment ever. But you don't, they're just hyping the stock. But the average investor, is that really good? How much of that is really true? Do they really know? Somebody like George Gilder, who's the tech guru of all time, and he's got the connections, he knows everything. So you need somebody like him to really go, okay, here's the good one that could really happen, because it's a roll of the dice on a lot of the other ones. It really is.
Absolutely. So I really appreciate your time, and I just want to wrap up with one question I like to ask. And as context, I always recommend to people who come and ask me for advice, I want to get into a certain industry, I want to do a certain business, I want to work with someone, what should I do? The best thing is to just give value first, to offer to help people out, even just volunteer. And so I'm wondering, for anyone who's listening to this and loves what you're doing or thinks it's really interesting, wants to get into newsletters, get into this industry, or just work with you in some way, if they reached out and said, I want to volunteer to do something to help you out, what would it be? What would you actually respond to?
Wow, what could volunteer? Well, I guess, there's always things we're not getting to in the everyday business, right? So, if you wanted to learn the business, I would, if you're on the marketing side, editorial side, you want to write, sure, we'll help you. Why not? Why not? Free's pretty good, right? But I guess, depending on what area you want, but that's it's actually a great way to learn something, and learning again is the key. And, I hope after doing this for, many decades, I've learned a few things, and I love, actually, this is a little different, but I just want to say this, like, one of my favorite parts of my job is watching, especially young people, grow their careers. I literally love that part of my job, and I've seen people come right out of school, kind of new to it, and then I see them grow and grow and grow, and I see them buy their first house, and they stick with me. I've been very lucky that I have very, very, very little turnover over the 20 years at Eagle Financial Publications. It's pretty amazing. I'm very, very blessed on that, and but it's great to watch people grow and get educated, take the next step in their careers, educate themselves, learn more. Sometimes, throw them to the wolves a little bit and go, okay, you're interested in this? Go do it. And you go figure it out, because I hired you because you're a smart person, and you're going to come up with new ideas that I haven't thought of. That's, one of the things when I hired somebody, I'm always like, the only difference between, I hire smart people, I want you to tell me how we can improve our business. Because the only difference between me and you is that I'm on this side of the table because I'm older than you. I have more experience. That's it. That's the only difference between me and you. But you're going to have ideas I never thought of. And as an entrepreneur, you should really... one person told me you should always hire people smarter than you. Because some people get scared. Oh, if I hire somebody smarter than me, then they're going to take my place. That's not going to happen. It really isn't going to happen. But your business is going to be a lot better if you hire very smart people.
That is fantastic advice to end on. Roger, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing these insights and everything that you're doing.
Well, it was great being here. Enjoy the rest of Freedom Fest, and best of luck on the new venture.
Thanks.